going to start out with our Italian spotlight, and I have to thank our Italian correspondent, Gaia Tridente, for arranging such a marvelous panel that we're going to have today. We have two of Italy's top producers have worked across film and TV. We're going to welcome up Nicola Serra, who's the managing director of Palomar. And Palomar's credits that you will know include Montalbano. They have the forthcoming The Name of the Rose, adapted from the Umberto Eco novel. They've got Gaddafi, about the Libyan dictator, coming up. Their films recently include The Happy Prince by Rupert Everett, and they have a title in Berlin competition called La Paranza dei Bambini. You'll notice my Italian is just as good as my Swedish pronunciation. We also have Marco Chimenz, co-CEO of Cattleya, who Cattleya has worked recently on shows like Romanzo Criminale, Gamora, which is soon going to be on its 4th season. Gamora has sold to more than 130 countries, quite a hit. And they're also working on a series with Netflix called Sabura. So I would love to welcome up Nicola and Marco to join me on stage. Yes, it's working. Thank you so much for being here. A little Mediterranean flavor to our snowy day. I mean, Italy just seems like it's booming in terms of TV drama, and especially the amount of those dramas that are now reaching the world. Marco, maybe you can start just telling us what Cattleya has done recently, and you sort of shifted from being maybe more TV, more film, now you're more TV. Why is that? Is it because of the success of Romanzo Criminale and Gamora and shows like that?
First of all, thank you for inviting us to this beautiful event. Never been and plan to next time be here for longer. In a way, we were lucky because we, as Cattleya, as you said, were film producers. We produced about 70 films over the years. And when Sky in Italy at the time, talking about a few years ago, they didn't even have a Sky Atlantic, but they wanted to start their originals, and they wanted to have a series that have a very strong film flavor. So they started with the first project, not with us, was kind of first attempt, a little tentative, and then they came to us, and we had produced a feature film called Romanzo Criminale, and they asked us to make a series. And that's where it all started in a way, because then the author of Gamora, the book, saw our series and asked us to produce a series with Sky. Sky was very happy to do that. And in a way, I guess that trigger also change in how people in Italy perceived Italian TV drama. Until that time, it was impossible to get some important directors or even actors to do TV drama. There was a very strong partition. It was not cool. It was not good for their career, and suddenly it became acceptable. I mean, that's a process that we did not invent. In America, it started at the end of the 90s, early 2000s with HBO drama. But that's how. So now, of course, we do more scripted drama because it's easier. You can be braver. You can be more daring. It's easier to put them together financially to find a new international audience. Yeah.
Maybe we can go ahead and look at we have a teaser or a clip from Gamora. I think this is from season 3.
This is season 3. I have nothing to show you about season 4, but it's coming next month on Sky.
Oh. Okay, not yet, but thank you. So let's go ahead and see a clip from Gamora to remind people what the show is. Great.
Thank you.
So when is season 4?
Season 4, it's gonna go on air in Sky in March.
Okay.
And Yeah, no, Gamora, we were, all very, very lucky. It was appreciated all around the world, and it became like the new template for organized crime series, and it opened a lot of doors for us, and well, it's very rewarding, and actually, from even as a member of the audience to see, I'm just finished watching season 4, that it's like always, there are always new ideas that you can, it's not a series that shows signs of repetitiveness, although the core, it's people make an alliance, betraying each other and kill each other. That's something that happens.
That keeps happening.
It keeps happening. That's
how long can it keep going? I mean, can you do 10 seasons?
Well, look, I don't think so.
Yeah.
You always had to be. You have to keep your greediness in check, in a sense. I think probably we're now going to produce this year a feature film that connects season 4 and season 5.
Oh.
Yes. So it'll go theatrical in Italy. I expect to go theatrical in some other territories, but other than that, it will be like a bonus, so like a 2-hour television. Very, interesting things happen that I cannot tell. And then will be a season 5. We might be done with that.
Is Sky involved with the feature film?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
that's a really interesting model. I haven't heard of anything quite like that.
Something like that, instead of a film that was connecting to seasons, so we saw it for a type of series, Downton Abbey, but it didn't go theatrical. Although now they do have.
Now they will have one.
Yeah, but that's just to. But we're doing that because we think there were. When Sky decided to go on a limited theatrical release of our first 2 episodes last time, and it was somewhat successful, so we're trying to have a real proper feature film and see what happens. And so then, by season 5 we could be done, except that then what happens is that we see, because we're follow the development of the reality with 1 or 2 years delay, and they're always very dramatic, serious, but interesting things narratively to tell. So we don't know.
Okay, we'll wait and see.
Yeah.
And Nicola, Palomar has very much taken advantage of this drama boom and very strongly working in TV, but still film is still a big priority for you as well.
Yeah, so first of all, thanks again for the invitation. Really happy to be here and share some thoughts with you, some clips also. Yeah, our core business is TV drama. So just to give you some numbers, TV drama accounts for 70-80% of our production. But yes, we care a lot about feature films, the business area, because for us, feature films is an area where we can grow talent, and we try to create, long-term in this kind of industry is a word that is not possible to say, but let's say medium-term relationship, a strong relationship. And so we cross between feature films and TV talents. When I'm saying talents, I'm saying writers, directors, actors, and also crew. So just to make a sample, we co-produced 2 years ago the Happy Prince you were mentioning before, and during the shooting of the film we created this very strong relationship with the DOP that in our view was really talented, and we brought the DOP on The Name of the Rose. Is John Conroy, an Irish DOP, and he did still in our opinion a great job, and for us it's really important this. And so feature films until 3-4 years ago was domestic project, but now we started in order to achieve this kind of exchange to co-produce more internationally. We did 2 years ago, for example, Tarde para la Ira, that won the Goya's Best Movie in Spain. The Happy Prince. We have another project in spring with Liam Neeson in Tuscany. So for us, I mean, it's not the main business area, but it's really important to feed also TV and to exchange assets between the two areas. So it's really, really important.
Can you tell us a little bit about the film that's in competition in Berlin?
Yeah.
Is that a talent you've worked with before, the director or writer?
The film is based on the novel of Roberto Saviano, La paranza dei bambini, so we have common elements.
Yes.
And has been selected in Berlin is by Claudio Giovanesi, the director that already has been in competition in Cannes. We are really happy about this movie. Is the story of a bunch of kids in Naples that take control of a specific area. So it's a crime story, but with a different point of view. In our intention is a point of view of kids. So there is a very thin border between the innocence, and the crime life, and their point of view, that is kids' point of view, is very important. So we are really proud that it's been selected in Berlin.
Right. Maybe we have a trailer. Or
we brought the trailer, yeah, the official one.
Could we show the trailer of the film? Thank you. Wow, that's great.
I should not say, but Radiohead helped a lot.
Yeah, it looks really good. Marco, you're going to be moving into English language series.
Yes.
Is it the first one?
Yes. 000 is our first English language. I should say predominantly English language. About 70% of it English. 15% is Mexican Spanish, and then 15% is Italian, or better Southern Calabrian dialect, which is almost a language in itself. Then we have some Wolof and some because part is shot in Africa. Yeah. It's a different ball game, to the truth, and this series is very ambitious. Maybe too ambitious. It's been painful to put together, and but look, the thing is that there is this huge wave of demand for a high-profile series, and when you manage to put them together, and it's always a slow process, mostly because of the writing. Somehow the financing seems to be materializing right and left, and it's I think a good moment to be a producer. It's a splendid moment to be a salesperson in our business. I believe we all look like we're geniuses, and hey, I did this deal, did this other deal. I think what probably is more difficult now, rather than looking for clever deals, is to stay ambitious in the stories that you narrate, how you narrate them also. The typical linear structure, I think that is, it's perceived as too traditional. And I think that's where 000 tries to innovate.
Can you tell us a little bit more about the show? We've actually got some
photos. We have some pictures that I've just about 10 pictures. The story starts in, I cannot tell much, I'm told by the sales company, but what I can tell is that most of the world is gone, because we have France, Canal Plus, Sky, the three Skies, then we have Amazon for North and Latin America. Here we have HBO, that got involved in for all the Nordic countries. Right. So if there is a Japanese buyer here, it'd be good to have a chat with. Otherwise,
a lot of it's sold, but maybe
Japanese. And so the story starts in Calabria, and we have put together some interesting cast for. That had some visibility, international, Dan DeHaan, Andrea Riseborough, and Gabriel Byrne. Then the story moves from Calabria to Louisiana, New Orleans, and then to Mexico. It's a very interesting part about the special forces of the army in Mexico. And to complicate matter further, just because with 4 continents it was not enough, we also had a big cargo ship and helicopters.
Now I understand why yesterday the dinner, you say, has been really tough from a production point of view.
And at night, so because you don't want to have an helicopter lifting people right in the middle today, too easy. And then here we go.
Wow.
It's not Italy. So it's Senegal, and that's it. And so, look, the series. I shouldn't be saying that, but the series is really amazing, and I think that it's one of those series that you're very happy to do. It's like season 1 of Gamora. We had like kind of perfect storm. We started producing while there were political elections there, so we had people that kind of denied that permits because they felt that the series was bad-mouthing Naples. And here we had a similar situation in Mexico. Yeah. The season 1 of Gamora was great for us, not financially, but great for the business to expand. And I suspect that this may be the case with 0002. But as I said, it's a different ball game.
And when is it out?
If all goes well, and which is let me touch whatever I can. We should start finish shooting in a month, and we're in Africa now. And will be a pretty long post-production. I suspect that we'll deliver by the end of the year and see it on air early next year. But different ball game. You have to suddenly to not just simple put together to finance it. That's almost I don't want to say the easy part, but deal with up-and-coming actors. They're represented by big agencies, so you have all the guild issues and etc. However, working on a series that is done by an Italian production system, which implies a lot more realism. So the action is real action, the director is... So everything is... So there was a kind of a cultural clash. The end result is very good. We're very proud of it. The process... complicated, and I guess it's also for us kind of a part of the learning process, which never stops.
Does it feel risky?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Very risky. It's one of those things where we're kind of a more sizable production company by Italian standards, but it's one of those things where you can, suddenly, not saying lose the company, but really damage the company. But so far, so good, and so we'll see what happens. It's a limited series, though, and I think that's a very interesting to start with the English language stuff. I think it's a good way, especially because it's very hard to accommodate the needs of commissioner and entities. They want a cast, even if it's not a super important cast, but want a cast with a certain visibility, and certain actors are busy with films, so want to keep all their options open. They will never really commit for a long-running, multiple recurring series. A limited one, though, yes. And I think that's probably for European producers that want to venture into English language series a good step, a way to put the toe in the water, I say, without having so many problems, because in the end you can have whatever kind of I feel contracts with the talents, but if they don't want to do a second series, they won't do a second series. And you want to start suing CAA or WME's clients. It's stuff that you don't want to do.
Do you think you're going to do a lot more English language in the future, or
we're gonna do, if all goes well, I think at least for the next foreseeable future, which, as Nicola said, is 3 years, I would say probably one every year. Big by our standards, meaning budget between 4 and 5 million per episode, probably limited. Then we have one that is recurring, that is Django, spaghetti western, putting together between Sky and Canal with a brilliant French producer, Atlantique, which Olivier Bibat, who was the one who had the idea to get the adaptation right from the original Italian movie. And when he told me, I felt like, we want to be on board. And second, I felt like, what an idiot. I didn't think of that myself. But that happened.
Django, is that started shooting yet, or that's still?
No, that's writing and juggling a little bit with the needs of the directors and the co-productions. But we have That's the other, bottleneck. Like I think all of us, except today, somebody told me there are so many. So that was receiving, I don't know how many scores of projects from independent writers in Norway, but the writers, the best writers, are all taken. Sometimes are taken by our own projects. So we have the writers of Django that are also working. We're working on 000s, now working on the feature film, the Gamora feature film. So you have our own creative exec, kind of knocking at the other colleague's shoulder, say, are you done? Are you done with them? And that's the bottleneck, I feel. That's what the thing that slows down the process.
Are you having a bottleneck at Palomar? Or one show I know we want to talk about is The Name of the Rose. Yeah. Maybe you can tell us a bit about how that has come about, and is that something you've been wanting to do for years?
First of all, for us, is the first English language show. Yeah. And most of all, is the first big scale show. So again, complicated, risky, and so on. But we have been really lucky because the property is so good. We were discussing before coming here on stage the fact that the book has the capacity to talk to different kind of audience, maybe a more intellectual audience. If you think that there is a specific chapter that is all about a theological dispute between Franciscan and Benedictine, so it can reach this kind of intellectual audience, but also can be very popular with the crime arch of the story. So the capacity to combine different kind of audience, I think, is the key. And our goal was to respect this kind of power of the book to be so popular. And then we started to build the cast, and we attached immediately John Turturro. And we have been lucky too, because he just came out from the night of, so also from a commercial point of view, I mean, it's very simple to understand that was a good hit. And then we started to build the production, and from a commercial point of view, we went really well because we sold immediately almost all the main countries in the world. And now we are, I know it could sound a little bit strange because we have the worldwide premiere, the 4th of March. So it's like 5-6 weeks, and we are still editing. But has been bought by, in Italy it's Rai, it's Orange in France, it's BBC in UK, AMC in US, so it will be something really big for us. And there is the temptation to increase the development, following this flow and The Name of the Rose, but also we need to be a little bit prudential because these projects really need a lot of care. And so, but I mean, we are really happy, and we will see very soon how it will be.
We've even got a little something that we can watch.
It's a little clip. I mean, just to show you some visual.
That's great. Is it going out internationally at the same time in March, or is it rolling out?
I know Rai is the 4th of March. Orange should be the following day. Then I'm not sure about the other countries. We have, as I was saying, some delivery issue because I think everyone knows and understands why. So we are running now.
Yeah. I'm glad you're here and not stuck with it. Do you think you'll do a lot more English shows, or is it the same sort of maybe one a year?
You mean in English language?
English language shows?
Yeah, I was saying before that, this is something that is a big temptation, to continue to develop and develop, but this kind of project takes a lot of care, and so we are developing other projects like we are writing Gaddafi in partnership with E1 in English language. We have another show, a little bit different, is more genre, is a sort of mystery horror western that we would love to shoot in the south of Italy and Morocco. So we have other projects, but again, we need to balance with our domestic slate and with our feature film. And also our company needs to grow, but in a sort of progression, not doubling the production every year, otherwise it will be really difficult to keep the quality. And most of all to keep the reputation, because I don't want to, tell all our private conversation, but yesterday we were on the plane, and when you have this kind of bubbles, and you can talk a little bit more relaxed with your friends, competitors, we agreed a lot on the fact that the most important value now to keep and to reach and to consolidate is the reputation. Investment, margins, and all talents, properties, everything is essential, but the reputation is the most important value for the small and big spenders in the future. And so I think every action that we will do should be addressed to consolidate the domestic reputation, but also to transfer this reputation abroad slowly in our scale, but at European and global level.
Well, I want to ask you, that leads right into what I want to ask next, which is about foreign investment in your companies, and how do you sort of keep your identity and your reputation while maybe growing with that investment? Like Media One is now invested, and so how do you? Is that just a win-win? But how do you sort of keep your culture when you've got a foreign investor?
It's very recent because it's like the announcement is. I think it's a partnership. Again, until a couple of years ago, there was a very, early seed idea in our company to create a sort of Italian production. We are a pure production company. We don't distribute. And so the idea was to aggregate a couple of players and to create an Italian player with a different scale. Then it didn't happen for some really easy reasons, because our industry is complicated. Each company was living a different phase of his life, so we couldn't make it. And so this year we had some conversation, and we had this conversation with Media One, and they appreciated our work. They asked us to start to talk about a partnership. And then in a very short time, we found a mutual agreement on the fact that we wanted to develop the international business, to consolidate the domestic business. We shared a common vision. They told us that they appreciated our work, so what we needed to do is to continue this kind of work. We are their first partnership outside France. And so it's also in their vision, we are also a sort of a gate for international further expansion. So all these drivers convinced us, and it's a partnership, and it's just started. So maybe in 1 year I will be back here to tell you. We'll
talk more in a year.
How it's going.
And Marco, with you and ITV's investment, did that change the company a lot, or how did you sort of keep your?
Not at all, except more frequent reporting. But other than that, it's part of the same the other side of the medal. So with demand for content, and content meaning scripted drama, most of it has shifted their focus from predominantly non-scripted M&A activity to scripted production company activity. So they initially invested into several British production companies that ventured outside. I think one of the first acquisition or action was here in the Nordic territories, and then they did something in Germany. That was us, and then Tetra Media in France. They don't do that with the idea of creating an homogeneous style in terms of editorial style at all. I think that they want to have diversity. They want to have series that come from different production style, cultures, and try to help us do things more ambitious and etc. I think that when they bought us, they bought 51%. That was at the end of 2017, so it's not even a year and a half. It's still feels like a long honeymoon, so all good. And I believe that there are some of the companies that they own or they are shareholders to that are amazing. You had, just thinking Mammoth Screen, the Paul Dark Vanity Fair, They have a company that produced Bodyguard. It was a huge hit on the BBC. And all these companies are thinking bigger and expanding. They have the Monumental that produced Harlot that went on Hulu.
Alison Owen's company.
And so I think they have a lot of very bright people around, and I think it's their idea is to expand diversity and
not make everything the same.
Yeah.
I mean, with all these shows you were making, and then you've got other people's shows like The Young Pope or My Brilliant Friend, is there a danger of reaching sort of saturation point with Italian drama for the international audience? Are there
Well, look, I think it's a little too early to have that. I don't even think we have saturation for drama around the world. John Landgraf coined that famous expression, the peak TV, a few years ago, and then it became not so peak, and etc. I do believe, though, that he is right. We'll be right in thinking that out of all this quantity of drama that is leaving us as an audience with the paradox of choice. When we browse Netflix for half hour or Amazon Prime, and then we don't find anything, we still have wasted the half hour of our time. That it's the quality issue that Nicola was referring to is paramount. So I think that there's going to be a lot of Italian drama that somehow is going to put this net out internationally, and I hope there is more and more that we produce, and Nicola or even other companies, of course, that really hit some of the international zeitgeist, or that's the difficult thing. It's not simply produce good drama, but produce something that is oh my God, it's like when you watch Fauda, it's a very small production value, but you watch it and say, oh my God, this is true, it feels true. And that's, I think, the difficulty, which can somehow, the risk of homogenization is there. Yeah. You have a lot of the OTTs that are now part of big corporations that have, they feel like they have to be politically correct. So I think you're seeing, probably from Italy too, stories that get more complex narratively, but less daring theme-wise. I don't think you're going to have a lot of, in my opinion, personal opinion, Orange is the New Black or House of Cards. You're still going to have stuff that is very, very complicated, Black Mirror-like, that leaves the audience intrigued and perplexed. But in terms of doing something that is a punch in the stomach, maybe no. And I think that's where maybe us Europeans still have an edge. And we can try to do that, see what happens with the new Sky. RAI is extremely important there, is one of the most active public broadcasters in Europe, I think.
And we haven't mentioned that you've got a Netflix show.
We do. We actually have doing a lot of business with Netflix. We have Subura, season 2, and hopefully there'll be a season 3. We have also do a second window series with them on a more traditional drama we did for RAI. We're working actively about to start production on a second series with Netflix, and unfortunately I cannot tell anything about it. They'll probably send me a killer if I say anything.
Yeah,
publicly.
they're in the room, so be very careful.
The cooperation with them is great.
Okay. Right. Should we show a clip of Subura?
Yeah, this is just a short clip. I mean, maybe I should say just a few words. And we wanted to tell about Roman crime, but Roman crime is different from Neapolitan, which is it's more about power, about different gangs, real estate developer, the Vatican, etc. So it's a more complex
different
world.
Layers of power.
Yes, and this is a conversation about different players. Yeah.
Okay. Clip. Yes.
Thank you.
Bello, Borghi, la fotografia.
And Nicola, are you working with Netflix or Amazon yet, or in?
Not yet.
Not yet.
No, we have a couple of ideas and projects in development. So we have some of our products in the library. So yes, we have a dialogue with them. Yeah. Yeah.
Let's see. Let's see if the audience has any questions. Anybody got a hand up? Or I'll keep going. Anybody up top? Oh, yep.
Hi, Marco, I think you were talking about the risk factor when you start producing these big budget international shows for your company. Have you ever thought about do you have completion guarantees in Italy? Obviously in the movie business they're used a lot, they haven't really been used in TV, but for a show like the one you put together, which is obviously a lot of locations, complex, would you ever think about doing that, or is it too much of a hassle?
Look, a completion guarantor is a very complicated issue. But yes, but when I refer to risk, I not necessarily refer to production risk, which of course in a series like 00 we do have that too. But more the fact that you do things in English, you want to have a big or not so big, even the big one are all gone, but English language writer. So then you start writing, the fees go to the sky. At the same time, you don't want to have necessarily a development deal with the network, because you want to feel free to play the market and also to really advance with the development on your own, and then present a network of the market with a semi-finished project. And so that's the thing, that if you start, suddenly you're very easily up at $1 million, $1.5 million in development or pre-production costs that pertain to development, and if you do that on multiple projects at the same time on parallel, that's when it becomes very risky. Then production risk is a different thing, and we ended up choosing not to do a completion guarantor on 000 because, well, the main reason was because it was all very much dependent on Stefano Sollima as the main director, and you know how it is with kind of an author-driven project and the completion guarantor. You know, you can fire the director if it doesn't behave, which was not really the case, by the way. Just, but then you're left with a no-name project, and the commissioning entities did require a name, or him in particular. I wish it would be. I wish it were the solution to the risk, but it's not quite like that.
I agree. I think that the bigger risk is during development, because in terms of values, development of this kind of shows is quite relevant. Now, if you think when you sign a property, like in our case of the Name of the Rose, and then you start to write this, and then at a certain moment you need to fix a timeline for the pre-production and production, and you need to sign maybe John Turturro or a cast. That is the specific moment that there is no net, no? That is like a couple of 3-4 weeks that you need to take the risk. And in that moment, you are convinced that you know the budget, that you can forecast everything, but it's not true. So that's, in our experience, the most delicate phase. And how Marco was saying, if you had 2-3 of this kind of project at the same time, then yeah, it could be really tough, and for sure.
Great. Is there another question out there? Yes.
In a part-time working for Wild Bunch Television.
Sorry?
Wild Bunch Television.
Okay.
So I have a question relating to the Name of the Rose. So I was wondering, what is the ratio of the production budget and distributors' involvement, and how can you, so which is the point when you go and decide that you actually undertake that risk in terms of overall budget, like for instance RAI, how much do they bring to the table, and how much is the, I would say, the risk carried by the distributing partner, which has been Wild Bunch partially for that project?
Okay, I think need to write a few emails for getting clearance from
I try to give you a very short answer.
Go ahead.
So I think, first of all, there is no a standard. I think it will be, it has been, and it will be different case by case. Figures. I can tell you that the budget of The Name of the Rose is something around 3 million per episode, so you can make the calculation. But still, we are now in post-production, CGI, and so I will tell you in a while the final budget, because there is, some flexibility in this. In the relationship with the distributor, I think is really different case by case. I mean, the main important driver is the commercial driver. If you have a very strong property, a cast, if the reputation of your production company is high and you are reliable, then it's much easier to obtain, to pre-sell like 3-4 big countries, and then you are almost safe. Then it depends from the how much want to risk the distributor. If you find a strong distributor that want to invest a big MG, this immediately helps you. If he's waiting for you to do the first step, to see the reaction of the buyers, then it takes more time and your risk increases. So, I mean, it's really a difficult answer to give. In our case, we found an international distributor that put an MG, I think at the right moment, but still there was a moment that we invested, maybe not in cash, but in terms of obligation, we can say a couple of million. That is the specific risky moment that I was referring before.
No, I mean, just confirm what Nicola said, that range of the Italian drama or Italian-based drama goes from, I say, about 700, 800,000 per episode for a typical Rai or Mediaset show, so the journal channels. Then you go with Sky, you easily go to 1.5 million, or Gamora is about that, and Subura even more. However, I think Subura in the Netflix world is a little bit of an exception. More recent shows that they've done were less expensive. And then you go to these big animals like 000 or Django. We have the kingdom about the early years of Christianity, and 3 million. It's very is on the low end, in the sense that I've been very smart on doing something so ambitious with just the 3 million. 4 or 5 million is easy. And that's again going back to what you said. Where you go to sales companies, when do you go? You want to have go to the market when you have a good script. So in English, it means the painful problem and having maybe an Italian writer first writing the core of the story, and then embarking English language writers that are busy and expensive and etc. Then maybe you also want to have you're buying the rights to the book. We both work on a lot of book rights, or they can be very expensive too, and you end up just not paying the option because the development is so long that at some point you're faced with the alternative, or do I actually exercise the option or not? They always do. And so that accumulates, and you still have nothing on screen. And then you have the option to the director. So with all this package to go on the market, and depending how big, I think that we were talking about it again last night. I think if you go with an important show to a sales company and you have a lot of the financing already in place, you can get maybe between 15 and 20% of the value as an MG against international sales. It depends. Otherwise, it's easy. You end up paying 30%, maybe less for the US. Here you have the big talent agencies that are now in the game very heavily, providing with the opportunity and, however, competition for the major sales company, when they basically, if it doesn't happen so often, but so easily, but they give you access to talent, they maybe get a 10% packaging fee they would get anyway, and then they handle the world for a mere 10%. And no matter how you look at it, in America they say there are 60, commissioner entities, but for any given show, it's not like you can go to a Disney Channel with Subura or Gamora. So you have a more limited pool, and you need to have somebody that can really play the market, exercise some pressure, and the agencies always they have a great leverage there. So it's beautiful business, very complicated. They got to be creative on our side too. Yeah.
We could talk all day, but I'm afraid we're out of time. But thank you so much for talking to us about being open about the finances and also the creative side of it. So we wish you the best of luck with these shows and can't wait to see them. Thank you so much for coming to Gothenburg.
Thank you all.